This is Conscious Conversations, hosted by Information Depository. Always remember, opinions are subjective. The truth is objective. The opinions in this podcast are merely subjective tools tailored to guide the listener to the objective truth. Okay, going by that definition, you said for starters, it's either of benefit to you as an individual or the collective as a society.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll consider obedience a virtue
Okay.
because obedience can be looked upon in a subjective manner.
Yeah.
My uncle tells me, see this thing, make sure you don't tell anybody what you're seeing.
Mm.
And technically, for me to follow that, I am exercising the quality of obedience.
Yes.
Is that of value to my...
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so because in that moment, first of all, that situation cultivates an unhealthy trust, right? Or an unhealthy followership where if in the example you gave, the uncle is saying, don't tell anybody about this thing. What if it's something negative? What if it's something you should tell people about?
Yeah.
And in an instance where you are a minor, you're not an adult, you're under the age of 18 or whatever the age is in whatever culture, right? In that case, you become vulnerable to whatever the uncle in question thinks you should know or do. So in many ways, I actually agree with you that obedience is not a virtue. But the question is, are there instances where obedience is a good thing? And if there are instances where obedience is a good thing, while we also agree that obedience is not a virtue, how do we marry the reality of things being situationally good, but not always good vis-a-vis virtue?
Okay, that's a very good way to look at it. So, for starters, if as a citizen of a country, in this context now, Nigeria,
Yeah.
if I'm on the road, there are traffic laws that are already established. The reason for establishing them is clear, to create order in the society. As Nigerians, we clearly understand what happens in environments where those laws are not necessarily if you disobey. Let's start with if there's absence of traffic lights through a traffic warden.
Yes.
You know what the reality of the environment is. You imagine that
You have an absence of those rules to begin with.
you imagine the adults should be mature enough to coordinate themselves until you find yourself in that junction.
Right.
So I guess it's from that wisdom that things like traffic lights were established. Now, in that case, from my understanding of what it seeks to achieve, I should be obedient to that. Because I also understand how my obedience plays a role in the collective good. You understand?
Yeah.
But now, the same context, in today's reality now, 9 p.m. at the traffic lights, I'm the only one there with my car. I look left, there's no other person. I look right, there's no other person. And the question is, at that point in time, does my obedience seek to achieve the same objective as my obedience by 2 p.m. in the afternoon during school run hour at that same location? Because now my obedience might put me at the risk of security danger. There might be someone lurking around who is waiting to prey.
Yeah, and see if they could get you to stop.
You
and steal
understand?
something.
And in that context, I personally won't fault anyone who chooses to break the traffic lights, provided it's not putting any other car at risk.
Yeah, or any other individual.
Or any other individual at risk. So, in a black and white sense, same instance, but in one instance, the person is being disobedient to quote unquote the law. But the underlying reason behind the law they are not
violating
it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I like that perspective because it leaves room for situational awareness and individual thinking where we are not robots and we don't absolutely 100% have to stop at the red lights. There are certain moments when it's probably okay and maybe even wise to disobey. Right. Right. Okay. I like that perspective. And it's a good way to segue into the conversation about free will and what we do with the free will that we have when we obey and when we choose to disobey, what consequences arise from that. Because I like the comparison you made in disobeying the traffic law or the red lights at 2 p.m. on a weekday where it's after school, you could hit someone, you do not want that.
Or even 9 a.m.
Or even 9 a.m. completely different. Also, there are many more vehicles on the road. So even if it's not like full-on contact with an individual, you could brush your vehicle, you could hit another vehicle. There's just so much that could go wrong versus 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. It helps me think about the fact that at the end of the day, it's the consequence of the action plays a significant role in whether or not the obedience or disobedience was significant.
Not just the consequence alone, but also the underlying volition behind the action. Because as at when I'm trying to beat the traffic lights by 9, I've not yet fully thought of the consequence of beating the traffic light, but I know the underlying volition behind why I want to beat the traffic lights.
Yeah.
I don't feel safe.
That's at 9 p.m.
At 9 p.m. I don't feel safe. It could be, we could blame it on several things. We can point fingers in several directions.
Yeah, we can talk about societal factors,
totally different.
the government, the police.
But at that point
in that
time,
moment,
for whatever
you're
reason
concerned
it
for your
is,
safety
I
and
don't feel
security.
safe. And that fear factor is what is driving me to act, because it feels like it's also my conscious responsibility to be situationally aware and react. Anybody that hears that I saw an armed robber coming
and waited,
and I felt that at this point the best thing I need to do is to be a good citizen and not break this. And I'm looking at the countdown; it's still at 63.
3 seconds.
Like, oh, that's it. Oh, now. And the armed robber is still approaching me, and I'm still just waiting. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
In that moment, you're exposing yourself to danger. And sadly, like you say, anybody that hears you say, why didn't you do the wise thing, the commonsensical thing, and get out of
that situation? Yeah. So in that case, they will also excuse my disobedience. So I don't feel I need to be confronted with that direct situation if that threat is really prominent in that environment. I could find myself in a totally different environment, which is relatively safer, and still 9 p.m., but I don't choose to exercise that action that I would have.
And in that moment, you'd have no need to
violate the traffic light. So now the underlying volition is different. So for me, that's one of the cross.
So the volition of the individual is the determining factor as far as free will is concerned. The consequence is only just an aftermath of the volition as it interacts with the environment. What to you would you say volition means?
That's a trick question.
Is it?
So it's a trick question in the sense that intuitively and mentally, I understand it.
Yeah.
I think the challenge is fleshing it out in words in a concise manner. I wouldn't have to be beating around the bush just to make.
Yeah, you can attempt to see what it means to you in your own words, and then we can always do a quick Google search.
Okay, so evolution in several ways, or in one word, I'll summarize it as the why. The core why.
Yeah.
The
core why.
Core why.
I like that phrasing. So I did the search and it says the faculty or power of using one's will.
Yeah. So, but from my personal understanding, I will link it to the core why.
The core why. In many ways, it tracks because the core why determines the why for what you use your will for.
Yeah.
And the dictionary definition says the power of using one's will.
It determines the direction
The
of
direction of
power.
the, yes.
Yeah.
So, okay. I see. So you're not just adding the aspect of power of using the wheel, but also the direction.
The direction in which it goes.
Yeah. That tracks. That tracks. I'm trying to think of other examples, and I do like the traffic example, but I'm trying to think of other examples in which disobedience might be a good thing. Maybe it's the
Trust me, as a rebellious person, I can come up with so
yeah. I don't know if historically I've been as rebellious as you are. Yeah, but one finds that as much as obedience, again, when you understand the why and the volition is aligned, it makes sense. You obey the rule, but certain times that's precondition to disobey or the tendency to disobey can also be a useful tool for assessing a rule and assessing a situation and ensuring that, okay, do you actually align with this thing, or are you just going along because of maybe there is some societal pressure or even financial pressure because disobeying will incur some sort of fine or fee? So that's a thought that I think is worth exploring for sure. But just to say that I'm not advocating for for anarchy and chaos and total disobedience amongst everyone, but I think it can stem from a place of weighing objectively,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because when we choose not to obey blindly, and I'm diverging a bit or digressing a bit from the primary conversation, which is obedience versus disobedience. But when we choose to not obey blindly, we allow ourselves the freedom of weighing a situation objectively and saying, do I actually think it is wise in this moment to obey this injunction or this rule? I would like to know if in your example, would you say the decision to break the traffic law at night, given the example you gave, falls in line with weighing objectively, or are there other factors at play?
So I will start by saying most people who are good at asking real questions or questioning things in a way also have that quality to be disobedient. Now, how you utilize that quality is another subjective matter.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
But they do
Because
have the
that person could also be a troublemaker.
Yes. And it also starts with a certain level of courage. There's a certain level of courage that you acquire as an individual. You are no longer scared to be disobedient.
Yeah.
For you
Courage
now,
to disobey.
yes, for you now, the precondition for disobedience is linked to your core why.
Yes. Again, I like that phrase, the core why. Yeah.
So at any given point in time, you're asking yourself that why question. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why is this necessary? And failure to fully explain to yourself or for someone else to fully explain to you starts to create doubts or cracks that now dilutes your obedience in several ways.
Yeah.
You understand? Either now or in future, we can have a different conversation about a parallel, obedience and loyalty.
Yes. Yes. Because loyalty is much more than obedience. It transcends obedience even because I can think of one man or one person being loyal to another, and the person who is loyal would take actions to the benefits of the other.
Yeah.
Right. So, and a lot of examples are coming to mind, but even between friends or between colleagues, partners, business partners, and all that, where there's loyalty, you're thinking, what can I do that will be beneficial to this person.
True.
A simple example is, let's say you work with collaborators for a business, and while you are handling the accounting and the numbers aspect, your colleague is handling the sales and the speech aspect. You could come across a program or a course on speaking or sales and marketing and send it to that person. Now, that person did not ask you for anything, but you were willing to do something to the benefit for the benefit of that person without them asking. And there is an element of personal activity
Yeah.
when it comes to loyalty, whereby we can say it's not even a case of duty, because duty is prescribed. If it's a job description, these are your duties. You show up on a Monday morning, you do them.
Half the time, you probably don't even know why.
You don't even know why you're doing it. It's like, well, you've got a job, it's a 9 to 5, you show up, you do your duty, you get it done, you tick the boxes and you're out of there. But loyalty takes so much more than just duty, where you are loyal to the cause, whatever cause it is. It could be business, it could be societally beneficial and all that. And I think there's so much we can delve into with respect to the difference in duty and loyalty.
Yeah. And probably drag obedience into the
Drag obedience into it as well. Yeah. Because obedience ties more into duty versus loyalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And loyalty has a more selfless element to it.
Yes.
Whereas duty has,
It's a bit more passive.
this was imposed on you. You just
go with the flow
and do the flow. Play your role. Right? Just play your role. Yeah. Just using your business colleague example, I could be in a business partnership with someone.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, an opportunity comes to me. Just to make it more contextual, let's think of a fact of where we're a duo for music. And we have a group name.
Yeah.
And someone approaches me and it's like, hey, I would like you to feature on this song. There's nothing stopping me from doing it. And I could now be at that point where I decide, what's more important to me? Do I want to promote my personal brand or this collective brand I'm also helping to build?
Yeah.
And I go back to the person and I'm like, yo, for me to feature in this song, it has to be as this entity
instead of the collective.
Instead of me as a singular.
Oh, so the reverse.
It has to be as this. So that's me now showing loyalty
to the collective
project. Knowing fully well that I could still be in my right to pursue that individual project. And you see it several times in band groups where sometimes the beginning of the end for the band starts when that group, people start acting individually. So what you used to know as a group, suddenly you hear a song and it's like featuring
this person.
And suddenly that person's image starts to grow bigger than the collective group.
I see.
And that starts to be the downfall of that collective group.
Yeah.
It might be the rise of him as a person, but it's
becomes the downfall of the group. And if you boy band groups are coming to mind.
I mean, I don't want to drop here as well. But history has shown it.
There's so many examples. There's so many examples. It's almost a predictable pattern at this point.
Yeah. So that's a true example of loyalty. And for some of those people, they are within their right to pick their personal preferences.
Because again, the role of free will still holds.
There's no obligation that they must be
in alignment with the collective project.
But there are still some people who decide against that and stick with that collective goal.
Yeah.
And for them, their sense of fulfillment comes in watching that collective goal rise to the point where all parties responsible had as a dream.
Yeah. So in a way, they have a loyalty to the cause.
Exactly.
And the cause in this context is the collective goal for the
So the cause comes above their personal ego.
I like this example you gave. as we pivoted somewhat from obedience to, I know, we started talking about obedience as a virtue or not, and we pivoted from obedience onto duty and then loyalty. It made me think of a book that I have come across. The title is In the Light of Truth, The Grow Message by Abushin. And one of the lectures, believe it or not, is titled Duty and Loyalty. So I'd like to share a few paragraphs from that particular lecture that I think ties well into what we are talking about. Blind obedience and blind fulfillment of duty are therefore of as little worth as is blind belief. Both are lacking life because they lack love. From this alone, man immediately recognizes the difference between a genuine sense of duty and a feeling of duty, which has only been imparted to him. The one bursts forth from out of the intuitive perception, and the other is grasped by the intellect only. Therefore, love and duty can never oppose each other, but are one where the perception is genuine, and from this blossoms forth loyalty. Where love is missing, there is also no life. There, all is dead. Christ has often pointed this out. It is inherent in the primordial laws of creation and is therefore universal without exception. The performance of duty, which voluntarily breaks forth radiantly from a human soul, can never be confused with a duty carried out for the sake of earthly reward. But each can quite easily be recognized. Therefore, let genuine loyalty arise within you, or hold aloof where you cannot be loyal.
I think that's essentially encapsulates the crux of our entire conversation. And as far as I'm concerned, is a high point where we can comfortably decide that, yes, with that, I don't know if there's more to be said at this.
No, I think this absolutely
rather we spend time trying to digest it and
summarizes what we've talked about, and we can go off on a reflective break from the conversation.
Yes. Appreciates my guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
This series was brought to you by Information Depository. For further inquiries, please send us an email to theinformationdepository@gmail.com. For more insightful content, follow us on our social media platforms, which you could find in the description below. To explore the original work and the excerpts featured in this episode, visit www.growmessage.com or send us an email. Thank you for listening.